Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to go back to a game I haven't visited for a while, More's the Pity, and I am speaking, of course, those of you who can see this vista in front of you probably recognize it, the Undaunted system by David Thompson and Trevor Benjamin. Now, as I say, I've wanted to come back to this game system for a while because I'd not made any videos about it for a couple of years now. And also, rather embarrassingly, thanks to a comment I received on one of my older videos, I realized I'd been playing it wrong back in the day and had made a video based on some of my incorrect assumptions. Mea culpa for not reading the rules properly and subsequently making a mistake. So while this is something I've wanted to do for a while anyway, I do owe this game a revisit and a proper playthrough. And just to remind myself, and hopefully those of you who might be considering getting into it, what a brilliant system it is. Now, there's another reason for getting back into it, and it's that way back in March this year, some friends of mine asked me about this system because they knew I had Undaunted Normandy. But they wanted to know how it compared with the more recent Undaunted Battle of Britain. And I have played both, and I did say that, both games are built around this fairly solid core of a card-driven system that's actually really clever. But of course, there are differences because obviously one's ground combat and the other is aerial combat. So what I'm proposing to do in this series is to play two complete scenarios, one from Undaunted Normandy and the other from Undaunted Battle of Britain, just so that you'll have a chance to see, those of you who haven't played these games, what both are like, what is consistent across the two games, and what differences there are across the two games. So I'm just going to put these weighty boxes down because they're kind of hurting my arms a bit. One moment. There, done. So sticking to the chronological order of which title came out first, I'm going to begin with Undaunted Normandy. And this is one of my favorite scenarios from that game. This is the battle for Hill 314 during the August 1944 battle for Mortain. So on the left side of the map, we have the German forces. It's a great scenario because it allows the Germans and indeed the US as well to employ all of the available forces in this game. So all three infantry units with their attached scout and machine gunners. You get to use the mortars, the snipers, everything is in here. And the Germans are trying to sweep across, and their objective is to take any one of these sectors. They only need to take one of them in order to win the game. They just need the one objective point, and that's it. So the US obviously want to prevent that from happening. The US victory conditions are to effectively pin the Germans down. And what that means in game terms is they have to achieve a situation where there are no German riflemen on the board. So, of course, riflemen are these fellows here, if my camera will focus. Are you going to focus? Maybe. Ah, you focused. Yeah, so those are riflemen. And they're the base units that the Germans and indeed the US start with. So just to recap, Germans get a foothold on the hills without getting pinned. US retain possession of the slope and pin the Germans. So let's jump right into it. The Germans have the initiative. And you start with 4 cards from your starting deck. So what have the Germans got? Okay, that's not too bad. They've got 2 of their squad leaders with very high initiative numbers. There's the Fog of War card, which is a bit useless, and they have a rifleman, which is also quite useful. If I were the German player, I'd be tempted to commit squad leader B for the initiative value, so I could do some concerted actions with Squad C. And so that's what the Germans are going to do. They're going to commit Squad Leader B for his initiative value. What about the Americans? So the US forces, looking at their hand, they've got quite a lot going for them as well. That's pretty good. They don't really know what the Germans are going to do at this stage, but they've got Rifleman A and B, and they also have Squad Leader C. Now, the tough choice for the US is it's tempting to do stuff with their riflemen, but they probably also want reinforcements, and so they probably want to use him for the bolstering. The US is going to take a chance on the hope that nothing is going to happen. Or actually, maybe they should just let the Germans have the initiative this turn, because then as the defenders, they will be able to react to the German move. So yes, actually, they're going to do that. So theoretically, not knowing what the Germans are going to commit, the US player is going to use the Fog of War card for his initiative. Both cards are compared. The Germans win the initiative handily. So let's have a think about this. The Fog of War card can just go into the discard pile. Now, the Germans are in a bit of a precarious situation at the start because they've not got many rifleman cards in play, and they need to look after their squad integrity. So the sensible thing perhaps is to use the squad leader at this particular stage for his bolster ability. So we are going to use that ability that lets him take 2 cards from Squad C from the supply area. And he is going to get himself... They're going to need the scouts to be able to move forward. So he's going to get himself a scout and another rifleman. And taking advantage of the fact that they do have a rifleman card, he is going to start putting pressure on the US forces by advancing. The cover in the area he's advancing into is no better than the cover that he's moving from. So really, aside from the fact that he's moving closer in terms of range, there's not really a problem there. So that's the German side done. What about the US now? Some difficult choices, really. They've got the ability to do something with Rifleman A or Rifleman B. But at this stage, the Germans are, it might be worth taking a shot at them, but they're fairly distant. I think the easy decision is to go with Squad Leader C. The US is going to do pretty much what their German counterparts did and beef up Squad C, especially as we seem to have movement on that flank. Now, because the US is already pretty much where they want to be, Squad Leader C is going to rustle up another rifleman card, but is also going to add one of Squad C's machine gunners to the fray. Now, as for Rifleman A and B, what to do? I am tempted. Theoretically, Rifleman A could move into that zone over there, but the cover is not so great, and while it's nice as a buffer zone, there's still areas that the Germans could try manoeuvring around, and it's early days yet. So I think Rifleman A might stay where he is. He could, just for the sheer chance of it, try a shot at at their German equivalents, and it may be worth doing that. So Rifleman A takes his shot. The range is 1, 2, 3, 4 for the Germans' defense value. Oh wait, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4 for the defense value of the area, plus 4 for the rifleman's defensive rating. So that's 8 altogether. No, a 3 was a miss. Now, Rifleman B, on the other hand, there's some very defensible terrain right in front of him, and it may not be a bad thing to start forming an outer perimeter. He'll still be linked up with the other two rifle units either side of him, and it will just give the Germans something that they have to push through and past in order to get to the hill. So rather than taking a shot, which is a bit of a chancy prospect at this distance, I'm going to use this card to move B group's riflemen forward. And that is the end of the US cards for this round at any rate. So both sides will draw their next 4 cards. Now, what have the Germans got? Ooh, more tough choices. It's tempting for them to want to keep the initiative, but that platoon sergeant could be quite useful for other purposes. They do want to get their riflemen moving forward, but they're going to need scouts to do it. I think a good compromise might be... Ah, dear, they want the initiative, but who should they give up? The platoon sergeant, and we do want to do a lot of bolstering at this stage, is so useful for being able to bring in 3 cards anywhere from the German supply, whereas squad leader A can only bring in 2, and it's restricted to the A group. But I think on balance, let's commit squad leader A as the initiative taker, and pretending that they don't know any of that, the US side is going to tackle the same dilemma. Now, I think they're going to want to keep Rifleman C because there's German units moving towards them. The platoon sergeant is going to be very useful. And then, of course, we've got squad leader B as well. Out of all of these, I think I'd probably make the same decision the German player did and commit squad leader B to trying to take the initiative. So we are left with a tie when the cards are revealed for relative initiative. The Germans retain it in the event of a tie. And so they go first. So what are we going to do? I think at this relatively early stage, they're going to want to, well, they'll get rid of that Fog of War card first. And then they're going to do some bolstering. So they are going to commit a scout from Group A rifleman from Group C, and now might be a good time to start adding the mortar unit. And then we're left with Rifleman A. Now, in much the same way as same situation as his colleague down in the bottom half of the map, the riflemen up here, there's aside from the fact that they're moving closer to the US forces, there's no great disadvantage in them moving forward. And it may just put a bit more pressure on the US and divide their fire. So they are going to advance there. From this point on, they're going to need their scouts to open up these other terrain features. But for the moment, things are moving for them. On the US side, I'll put down the Fog of War card first. So I think I'm going to start with the platoon sergeant because, like the Germans, I want to be calling more men into the fray. But unlike them, because mobility is less of a concern for me, I'm fighting a positional warfare situation. What I want is more support. So I'm going to use the bolster ability with 3 cards. I'm going to get some mortars in action. Going to add in the sniper because he's brilliant. And I think I will add the platoon guide as well because he's generally useful. And if nothing else, he's got a very decent initiative rating. So those go into my discard pile. And finally, we have Rifleman C. I think I am going to chance. There's some good defensive terrain there, but it's weaker than the hill. And I don't really like the idea of leaving the hill exposed. So for now, I'm just going to see if I can land a lucky shot on those advancing German riflemen out in the field there. So he's going to take a shot. So with the range of 1, 2, defensive terrain 3, so I need a 7 or better. Ooh, and we do it. Good shooting. So the Germans have to go through their discard pile and remove one of the Rifleman C cards from the game. That's a good start. And that's it for that turn. So I'll just shuffle the decks and draw some new cards for everyone. We're going to be seeing a lot of familiar faces soon because we've, with the reshuffle and with the small number of cards currently in everyone's deck, there's going to be, as I say, a fair number of familiar faces making a reappearance. So what have the Germans got? That's not a bad selection. But a bit of a tough choice when it comes to reinforcements, though. All of these are really useful, although perhaps the least useful is probably Rifleman B. And the Germans do need to sort out their force mix and give that scout some employment. So what they're going to do is they are going to use Rifleman B for the initiative. And over on the US side, okay. So we've got a squad leader for A, a squad leader for C. That's not bad at all. And the platoon guide. Now, the US are still not overly tempted to do much movement, and the platoon guide only has a bolster rating of 1, so that's 1 card to choose from the supply. So they're going to use him for his initiative rating. So the 2 bids are revealed. The US wins it. And the initiative now passes to the Allies. So what are we going to do? Well, easy decision with that. I'm just going to put it down in front of me. Squad leader A. Those German riflemen are close, but there is no danger of them advancing anytime soon. So squad leader A is going to boost his unit's strength by applying his bolster rating. We're going to rustle up a rifleman and a machine gunner. And I think I would like squad leader C to do the same thing. Again, the Germans are getting close, but they're not any immediate threat to us. So mirroring what's being done on the other side of the position, we're going to get a rifleman in, and we're going to get a machine gunner in. Okay, and that finishes the US turn. Not much by way of activity from their front line, but forces are building up to the rear. What about the Germans? Well, that scout card means that not before time, a unit of much needed scouts appears up there. And they're going to start giving Rifleman A a chance to, Rifleman Group A, I should say, a chance to press towards that hill. The platoon sergeant, I think now's the time to rather urgently use his bolster ability and summon up more scouts. So we'll start getting the equivalent up for B and C. That's 2 of the 3 he can summon. And in the interest of providing more support, he's also going to request a sniper so that they can start whittling the US down a bit. And the last German card is, of course, the Fog of War. So both sides have drawn fresh hands now. I'll look at the US first because they hold the initiative now. We have a really nice mix. Rifleman C, the mortar can make an appearance, and so can the sniper potentially, and another one for Rifleman C. So that's quite a nice mix there, although the only downside is the initiative ratings are quite low. On the German side, a good turnout for C with the 2 riflemen. Their mortar is ready to come on. And they have a squad leader for A. More difficult choices, I think. Yes, this is going to take some careful planning. Now, the US want their support units to come out. They want the mortar and they want the sniper. So what they're going to do is accept that they'll have to do without extra shooting abilities for Rifleman C. Well, only 1 volley this turn, and they'll commit that card for the initiative. The Germans, for their part, are going to make a similar decision because they do want more people on the board. And Rifleman C, well, it would be nice to have that group put out a lot of fire. They do also want their mortar in action. So they'll commit that for the initiative. The cards are revealed, and the US retains the initiative. So, two of these are very easy. In turn, the sniper and the mortar unit will appear on the map. And they will both appear in their designated area. So that's good. The US now has troops forward and they've got support units behind them. Things are looking quite healthy over there. And just to add insult to injury for the Germans, Rifleman C over there is going to take another shot at the German Rifleman C. So 2 for the range, 3 for the terrain, 7 or better to hit. No, that's a miss. Okay, worth a try. For the Germans, their mortar unit is going to appear in its designated location. Squad leader A is going to summon reinforcements. He is going to go for more scouts and a rifleman. And lastly, Rifleman C is going to try and shoot back at their US tormentors. So 1, 2, 5 when you add in the terrain. Ooh, that's going to be a 9 or a 10 to hit. It's a tough shot. And the Germans don't do it, sadly. So that ends the turn, and I think that's a good place to stop this video for the moment. The Germans are building up and they're slowly pressing forward. The US are also slowly building up, so it's going to be interesting to see how this battle develops. As the Germans, I'm going to try and play it a bit cautiously because I don't want to be too reckless. I want to keep the US forces worried, but I don't want to suffer undue casualties. For the US, I'm equally going to play a very careful game. We're probably in a better place when it comes to trying to win a battle of attrition, so we don't want to push our luck too much against the Germans. Obviously, if we do hit them hard, then it may be tempting just to push forward, just to hunt down their riflemen and win the game that way. But we will see what opportunities present themselves when I join you in the next video. So I hope you've enjoyed this one and found it interesting. And I hope I will see loads of you in the next one where we see whether the Germans accelerate their push or whether the US dig their heels in and stay or head forward. Until then, guys, do take care, and I look forward to seeing you all again soon. Bye.